8 weeks into the SNC-Lavalin affair, and the Prime Minister finally acted tonight, kicking out Jody Wilson-Raybould and Jane Philpott from the Liberal caucus. And pressure had been building on him to do this for the last several days. Liberal MPs have been meeting in smaller regional caucuses to discuss their future in the party. They all seem to agree that it was time for them to leave, that they could not endure the steady drip, drip, drip of information about the SNC-Lavalin affair that was really damaging to the party's brand. Now, the Prime Minister called all his MPs together tonight for an emergency caucus meeting, spoke to them about it, and then opened up the doors to the media so that he could speak. He talked about how Jody Wilson-Raybould and Jane Philpott had effectively broken trust with the party and with its caucus members. He also referred to what he called an unconscionable decision by Jody Wilson-Raybould to make secretly a recording of her conversation with the clerk of the Privy Council, Michael Wernick, when they were discussing a potential plea deal for SNC-Lavalin to avoid criminal charges. Now, Trudeau also talked about the history of the Liberal Party and the infighting that has divided it in the past, obviously referring most recently to those battles between the Jean Chrétien Liberals and the Paul Martin Liberals. Here's what he had to say.
The old Liberal Party was notorious for infighting. People on the same team used to identify themselves not as liberals, but as hyphenated liberals. My leadership was a commitment to change that. Civil wars within parties are incredibly damaging because they signal to Canadians that we care more about ourselves than we do about them. That's why I made the difficult decision to remove Ms. Wilson-Raybould and Dr. Philpott from the Liberal caucus.
Now, both Jody Wilson-Raybould and Jane Philpott wanted to remain as Liberal MPs and wanted to run again as Liberal candidates in the next election campaign. Wilson-Raybould wrote a letter today, though, and she took a few very direct shots at the Prime Minister. She said that she wasn't the one that had inappropriately interfered in this sensitive issue of the SNC prosecution, and she wasn't the one that effectively tried to cover it up or deny what had really happened. And I think that could have been, ultimately was a breaking point for the Prime Minister's office, that there was no way she could possibly remain in caucus when she'd expressed such lack of confidence.
We've taken every effort to address their concerns. But ultimately, if they can't honestly say that they have confidence in this team, despite weeks of testimony, face-to-face conversations, and phone calls with myself and other members of caucus, then they cannot be part of this team.
So not only are these two women out as Liberal MPs, they will not be running as Liberal candidates in the next election. Their future's uncertain. Possibly they'll align with another party, possibly they'll run as independents, or possibly their careers in federal politics have come to an end. Glen McGregor, CTV News, Ottawa.
And once again, a late update here from Jody Wilson-Raybould online. Here's what she just tweeted out, reflecting on what the PM has done. My thoughts are with my constituents in Granville, Vancouver, my dedicated staff and volunteers, my family and friends, and all Canadians who believed in a new way of doing politics. I will take the time to reflect and talk to my supporters about what happens next. What I can say is that I hold my head high and that I can look myself in the mirror knowing I did what I was required to do and what needed to be done, based on principles and values that must always transcend party. I have no regrets. I spoke the truth, as I will continue to do. Now, Jane Philpott says the decision to kick her out of caucus was made without her being able to address Liberals. She also issued a statement online saying, I was accused publicly by people in caucus of not being loyal, of trying to bring down the Prime Minister, of being politically motivated, and of being motivated by my friendship with Jody Wilson-Raybould. These accusations were coupled with public suggestions that I should be forced out of caucus. These attacks were based on inaccuracies and falsehoods.